Hey kittens! Welcome back to my channel, I guess. This is my first writing vlog of 2020. Am I nervous? Yes. And the reason why is because for the year 2020, I thought it would be an interesting project to go through the writing process from beginning to end on a project with you guys. I want to show you what I do, the steps I follow, what works for me. There's going to be a lot of experimentation, and I thought it would be fun to start off with how I come up with ideas. Now, ideas are a dime a dozen. It's teasing out whether or not there's a story in the idea that's important. Now, not every idea is worth writing a story about. Sometimes they can just be cool thoughts, other times they can actually turn into something amazing, such as taking a train ride and having that, spiral into a franchise, or a dream, or watching your kids play in the backyard, or a black cat going across your path. And for me, it was a book of fairy tales. When going through the idea process, I always pick one truth and then I just kind of tease it out and see if there's maybe an idea there or a story I could tell. So for this one, I was reading some Hans Christian Andersen actually, and this thought crossed my mind that fairy tales leave scars. They leave their marks on us, and I think that it's such an interesting concept because we read fairy tales from early childhood. Our parents read them to us. As adults, a lot of people love turning to those darker fairy tale retellings, or the romances, or the movies, or music, things like that have to do with fairy tales. And I mean, we had an entire TV show called Once Upon a Time, which was fairy tales. And honestly, I think that they are such an important part of any culture, regardless of whether or not we call them fairy tales, if they're just folklore or, fables, things like that. It really adds up in the culture and in the people in that culture. So my first idea, of course, oh, that's the wrong end of the pen, is fairy tales leave scars. That is the first idea that popped into my brain when reading these fairy tales. And I mean, if you look into the dark, twisted Grimm's Brothers, you really understand how dark they can be. But let's not just go down that route. Let's go ahead and go into a mind map of different things that happen from this idea. So let's go ahead and take another color. And you can do this in one color, you can do this on lined paper, scrap paper. This is just a poster board that I had that I'm wrapped in butcher paper so I could do this. But we're going to go ahead and list off some things that are universal about fairy tales. Fairy tales are kind of a global thing. And I'm sorry for my horrible penmanship. They're global. They teach children things, teach lessons. They reinforce desired behaviors. And a good example of that one really is from Little Red Riding Hood. I mean, that one tells you not to talk to strangers. Don't tell them where you live, And it's a very good tale. So that's a good one. They're cautionary tales. We'll just throw that one off global. And I mean, I could continue on with that particular vein, but let's go ahead and move on to another area. So let's switch markers. And we'll go green because I love green. So one thing that a lot of fairy tales have in common is the theme of good versus evil. Very important that, because a fairy tale, you have to be fighting against something in order to have a good story. And so they have good versus evil in common. Surprisingly, most of them have, you know, the number 3 in common. Everything comes in threes. So there's an idea. Let's see. A lot of them have various themes in common. Love, hate, courage, kindness, evil, which is already included, cruelty. And I mean, the list kind of goes on and on, but these are like the main parts of fairy tales. And I mean, I'm not going to go into everything here. I'm just kind of throwing these ideas on the paper. So moving on to the next option. And we're going to just talk quickly about the Grimm fairy tales. The Grimm fairy tales are dark tales not really meant for children, really. They involve a lot of gore, a lot of, you know, violence, but children have been read them for years. They're more meant for adults, actually. Children's tales not meant for children. Kind of weird to think about it that way, but yeah. Dark and twisted. That's a good thing that the Grimm Brothers has. A lot of them deal with curses and revenge. Let's see. What else do I know? Not always a happily ever after. Which is kind of an important thing to teach people. Not everything's gonna have a happy ending. What else do I know about the Grimm Brothers? Oh, here's something that's not really related to the tales themselves, but the Grimm Brothers collected the tales. They didn't write them all. And some of the people that they collected these from were family, peers, surprisingly the lower class, and Roma people, or gypsies. So that's kind of a good tease out of the Grimm Brothers fairy tales. I know a lot about them because they're my favorite. I don't know as much about going into Aesop's Fables. Hope I'm spelling this wrong. Probably not. Spell check, people. Spell check is your friend. Aesop's Fables. These stories all have morals. Like the dog and his reflection, the scorpion and the frog. The scorpion and the frog is actually one of my favorites. It's pretty much about a frog who is tricked by a scorpion to taking him across the river, and when they're halfway out, the scorpion stings the frog, even though it's mutually assured destruction. And it's actually plays very heavily in one of my favorite movies that has to deal with fables called The Devil's Carnival. Check it out, it's a good movie. But anyway, they deal with morals, and they're also cautionary tales. they can kind of be preachy in my opinion. But that's just me. They're not my favorites. So that's kind of as much as I'm going to go into Aesop's Fables, because I'm not going to focus on that for my story. I know I'm more focused on the fairy tales. And then we're going to go back into the green and talk... Oh, my foot has fallen asleep. Next, we are going to talk about Hans Christian Andersen. Alright, so Hans Christian Andersen, a lot of the tales, true love conquers all. And they're generally good always wins. Let's see, what else do I know about them? The less fortunate seem to prosper. And I don't do shorthand, guys, sorry. I write out everything I think. Drives my sister nuts. What else can I throw on here? They are softer, usually. More kid-friendly. Okay, so I've kind of teased out a good amount of information. I mean, this isn't by far as much as I could do. I could fill out this entire board, plus several others, with just this kind of mind mapping. But the important part is that fairy tales leave scars. Now, Hans Christian Andersen is very soft and kid-friendly. I don't think I want to focus on that. Aesop's Fables, not my favorite. I'm partial to Grimm, so that's where I'm going to focus my attention on. So really, this half of the board is where I'm going to see if my idea has any merit, or see if there's any ideas. So I really like the idea of the collected tales. Dark and twisted, of course, because I'm dark and twisty myself. Ooh. The Romani people. Curses. I kind of have an idea of a story I want to tell, and these are all huge parts of it. Things come in threes, which is a good outline for a story, actually. Cautionary tales, reinforce desired behaviors, teach lessons, global. Well, you know, these are kind of where I start. And fairy tales leave scars, collected tales, dark and twisted, curses, and gypsies. And maybe I have a story idea there. So I think that's as far as I'm going to tease it out on paper. In my next video, I will go over a lot more detail about my story idea that is brewing in my brain. But this video is already long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to follow along on this journey, please feel free to click that subscribe button. And I will see you in my next one. Bye!